You can talk about the car all you want, but if you don't have the keys, you can't enjoy none of it. And that's what it's like when you're in the Bible and you're studying principles. Once you get the principles down of the Bible, guess what? Then you are able to enjoy the things that God has prepared for you just instead of just knowing about them. So I mean, when Chris came in, it was a thing where he was like, oh wow, this is it. So when this book came out and it talked about principles, that was right up my alley. I'm going like, that's what it's about, learning principle. And what we don't have is principles. We know scriptures, but we don't know principle. And we don't know how to make the Bible do what it does. Well, we're here today because somebody found out how to make the Bible do what it does. Because when I started reading the book, I'm going like, these are Bible principles. He's not fooling anybody. This is some good stuff. But I'm saying, but it's principles to live by. And I thank God for the opportunity to come up here and just, be here to witness this, because the Bible says, do not despise small beginnings. Well, one day I want him to fly me in so I can do his real book signings, the bigger one. So I'm going to be there. So I mean, so I thank God for what he's doing with Chris. And I thank God for just the opportunity to be here and I'm humbled by such a great company of great people. So I thank you, and I thank Chris for the opportunity just to be here. So I thank God, and that's it for me.
All right. Those are some great words. I really love that. That's good. I remember something my dad shared with me. He's a person who loves to tell us a lot of stories and principles and all kinds of. One thing that he popularly tells us is knowledge is power. But one time he came back and said, son, you know what? It's right knowledge that is power. It's not every knowledge that is power. Some knowledge can lead to failure, but the right knowledge will lead to success. And I was reading one book sometime, and it says, well, you can have knowledge, but knowledge doesn't lead until there is a transformation as a result of the knowledge that we've gained. And I was sharing this with Chris yesterday, and I said, you know something? I was reading the Bible one time, and in the book of Joshua, Joshua was kind of encouraging the people of Israel and telling them that, hey, this book of the law, that means that what the Jews called the Torah, shouldn't depart from your mouth. In other words, you shouldn't stop talking about it. You shouldn't stop mentioning it or sharing it with your friends, but rather keep it going so that you meditate upon it, and eventually it will help you to apply it in your life. So I was saying that there are 3 stages here. First of all, keep the principles on your mouth. Keep talking it. Keep talking it. How many of you agree that the more you talk about something, the more it sticks in your mind? That's right. And I told him that the best way for me to learn is to teach. And I'm a grad assistant on campus. I'm in charge of laboratory and other stuff. There are certain things I've learned already. But anytime I go to class and I teach it, I say, wait a second, I'm learning something new. I've never thought about this. So the more I teach it, the more it sticks. And the more it sticks in my mind, the more I begin to act on it. The reason why we have so many commercials on our television is not because the commercials are great, but they want to imprint something on our mind. The more we see it, the more we think about it. If you see a lot of Coca-Cola commercials, anytime you are thirsty, you don't think about Pepsi. You don't think about Mountain Dew. You think about Coke. So the same thing, these principles have been put together. We're not going to stop here. We're going to help our brother get it, and we should start talking it. The more we talk it, it's imprinted on our mind, and the more it gets into our mind, it will definitely affect the way we act. So right now, I just want to acknowledge a few people in our midst. Of course, everyone is a great person. We are all special guests, but just there is a saying that give honor to whom honor is due. we just want to recognize a few persons in our midst here. Mr. Christopher Villanueva, who is a vice president at Roosevelt High School. Shall we put our hands together? And Ms. Patsy Quiros, the Dean of the Science Department at Roosevelt High School. I'm sorry if I couldn't get your name right.
That sounds great. I love it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Kofi of Pentecost, the Church of Pentecost San Antonio. Can you give us a wave? Thank you very much. He's a great man of God who has been a strong backing and even given us this opportunity to do this program here. All right. So right now, we'll just give chance to a few individuals here to share, who have expressed the desire to share a few testimonies about the author or the person we are celebrating today, Mr. Christophe. So we'll give the chance to Mr. Christopher Villanueva to share a few things about our author today. Yes.
Can you all hear me? If I, all right. I'm not sure if I need a microphone, but let's see. I'll get my eyes on here. All right. Hello, my name is Chris Villanueva, and I'm an employee of the Northeast Independent School District. It is with great pleasure that I have the opportunity to recognize Chris Toffi on the release of his book, Sound Principles for Effective Living. Chris has joined our staff at Roosevelt High School this school year. I first had the opportunity of meeting Chris at the interview process. His enthusiasm for teaching and continued growth in his field was evident. In just a few minutes, and without directly telling us, Chris was able to express his passion for his profession and his compassion towards all youth, which immediately won the interviewing committee's approval for the position. Now, if I had only known that he was a motivational speaker, I may have questioned him more on his teaching ability, knowing that actions speak louder than words. But all kidding aside, Chris is quickly becoming an asset to our science department. Welcome, Chris. I first became aware of Chris's desire to publish a book at the end of our first semester of school. Chris had asked me to read the manuscript and share with him my opinions. My first reaction was, oh no. Here we go. Having to read another how-to book on helping teenagers cope with their difficult lives. Forcing me to criticize a new teacher, which will not only discourage his writing ability, but also create animosity towards me in the school. I was not looking forward to the read, but I can say that I was pleasantly surprised after reading the first few pages. In fact, I had a difficult time putting it down, and only had to do so after my wife reminded me how late it was and that I needed to turn out the lights. I was already looking forward to the following night. Chris does an excellent job explaining each chapter's subject matter, followed by research-based support, and then relating it to his personal experiences, and in many cases offering spiritual messages that help to solidify the significance of the chapter. When I began reading the manuscript, I searched for concepts that I could use, share, and support through my experiences working with our youth. I wanted to see if this publication would be the key to what our young adults needed to hear. But what I found was that as I was reading his book, I began to question myself. What is my potential? How solid is my current philosophy? Is my purpose still active? Especially if, according to Chris, it determines the length of my life. And I need to make sure I revisit my life plan. I understand that the target audience for this book is young adults. But what I found is that Chris's book, The Sound Principles for Effective Living, is for all ages. So immediately after reading the manuscript, I went straight to my 17-year-old's bedroom, handed it to him, stating, "You have to read this." So congratulations to Chris Toffi on the release of his book, Sound Principles for Effective Living, a must-read for all ages. And I'm still waiting for Chris to bring fufu to school. Thank you guys and have a wonderful evening.
That was wonderful. Can we do it again? Thank you so much. Next, we'll humbly ask Miss Pat.
Kiros.
Okay.
Kiros.
Kiros. All right.
And I don't need it. I'm going to use my teacher voice,
Good.
even though it's a bit raspy. But you mentioned you didn't have much to say. You said you're going to be short and sweet. I'm really going to be short and sweet. I didn't prepare anything, so I'm just going to go with exactly how I feel from the heart. I met Chris. He was already hired on to, into our science department when I started over at Roosevelt High School. I too am a rookie like Chris is over at the campus. It was my first year as well. When I met Chris, definitely when you say he jumps in and goes at it, he really does. Chris came in with a lot of motivation. Obviously, he's a motivational speaker, so it rubs into his own personality. But he jumped in, was ready to go teach chemistry, jumped in and said, "You know what, why don't you give me AP chemistry? I want to teach AP chemistry." Shortly after that, we gave him that opportunity. He works extremely hard, very, very, very dedicated. So his motivation of being his motivational speaking skills is a very apparent in his way of practicing in the classroom. Within a few months, Chris came by and spoke to me and mentioned, "What about dual credit? If I'm teaching AP chemistry and they have the opportunity to receive dual credit, why can't we just go that route?" I'm like, "Wait, Chris, you just started at Roosevelt, you're teaching AP chemistry, and now you want to do dual credit? That's amazing." So that dedication is very apparent. And the amount of workload that he has within his day-to-day practice at work, he is still very positive. Don't see the stress on him. He can be running around from one room to the next, knowing that he has 100 things on his to-do list. But while he's doing it with great, great spirit, great energy, and is a positive person to be around. So as I mentioned that, shortly after that, he came by and he mentioned something to me. He's like, "You need to Google Chris Toffi." I said, "Oh, really, do I?" He's like, "Yes, you do need to Google that." So I Googled it with him by my side, and up comes the actual website. At no point did I know that he was a motivational speaker. So I was looking at the website and I'm reading and I'm like, "Chris? Chris?" And he's like, "Yes." And I'm like, "Chris? Wow, congratulations. I didn't know you did this." And so it was quite an admiration when he came by and he said, "I'm getting my book published." And so I was very proud, very, very proud to see that of Chris, because as he's at work every day, being the best teacher that he can possibly be, when we all know that we have room for growth, Chris is ready to grow. He still, aside from that, comes here apparently on Wednesday nights and still is putting together a book and is still motivating other people around him. And what he did at Southside High School, if I'm right, is Southwest, thank you, Southwest High School. It was great to read how the impact he had on those individuals. So to get to the book, I haven't had a chance to finish reading the book, but I do have to say that the chapters that I have read personally has redirected me in my own thinking. I'm a very religious, strong faith individual, and I know that I have a good vision, but it helped me refocus my lens and the lens that I look through, and these principles, I mean, they're amazing principles. He's absolutely right in his book. Everybody has their own success and their own path to success. And along the way, you're going to have a lot of barriers, a lot of obstacles. But these principles are principles that anybody can just do on their day-to-day life. I agree with what Mr. Villanueva mentioned. It's it's perfect for all ages. I'm still very young, so I have a long life ahead of me. But if it's going to prolong my lifespan, I mean, it's great. It's great to read this book and the few chapters that I read, and to know that somebody within our campus has this great mindset. But I congratulate you, Chris, and I encourage everyone to read that book. It's phenomenal. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. those are some great words, and I believe you all share similar things about our brother. I've known him for just a little over 3 years, and definitely, whatever the two speakers said is right. I've known my brother, and that's exactly, when you see him, he exudes with confidence. In spite of everything, the situation may seem quite gloomy, but he says that, hey, we can do this. So far as we have the potential, let's believe, let's get it going. And if you just look at it, that's just the cover. It says that that's just volume 1. I started reading it and I said, wow, I can't wait for volume 2. I want to understand every bit of it. And I wish that I was about 10 years. Well, I'm still very young. So I'm glad that this book has come, and I'm really going to refocus my life, apply some of the principles, look deep into my life and say, hey, what are some of the things you have? What's your purpose? Try to understand myself better. So thank you so much, Chris, for giving us this opportunity. Next, we want to invite the man himself, Chris himself, to tell us what actually motivated him to write this book. Because he's telling us, everything has a purpose. The world works with principles. So what actually motivated him? What was his purpose behind this? If you start reading the book, he's talking about certain things. Everything that we have. We are going to help him with this book, but what's the purpose behind this book? What actually stirred him to write this book? So shall we welcome Chris Tofi.
Wow. After hearing all of this, now the bar has been raised. I don't know how I'm going to meet this bar. But I will start to, first of all, say thank you so much, all of you. You have made my day so special. I really, really appreciate your time and support. Thank you. If I'm to mention names, I wouldn't finish. So without mentioning names and without wasting too much of your time, I say thank you. Now, to answer the question that you posed on me, why did I write this book? And as a matter of fact, that's the question that most people have been asking me. Why did you write this book? Why did you write this book? So I will start my speech by trying to answer that question. Because if I don't answer, you will leave here and you start, oh, this guy didn't know what he was doing. All right, I wrote this book as an attempt to answer the most challenging question in the heart of mankind. And I think the MC actually started by saying it. I have come to realize that there is one greater challenge in the heart of every human being on this planet. And what is that challenge? We are all trying to succeed in everything that we do. Students are trying to succeed in their classes. We workers, we are trying to succeed in our job places, in our marriages, everywhere, every area. We are all striving to be successful in all that we do. And Socrates actually put it better. He says that the ultimate goal for mankind on earth is to live effectively and successfully. And I love the way that John actually stated it in his writings, that Jesus came so that mankind will live effectively and abundantly. So the whole purpose of writing this book is to help us, including myself, to discover how we can achieve this. The irony part is that we all believe that this goal is possible. Everyone believes that it's possible to live effective life. It's possible to have success in every area. Now, the problem is, how do we do it? That has become the challenge. Some people think they can get it through violence, so they kill, they steal, they break homes. Others also think they can achieve this greatness when they get a better government. So they complain against the economy, they complain against the president, they complain against every little thing. because they think when their surroundings get better, their life will be better. So as I pondered and researched and studied about this goal on the heart of every human being, I came to discover that there is actually one way to achieve this goal. There's only one way. You know, tons of books have been written about how this goal can be achieved. They offer several principles, several ideas, strategies. And I discovered that all that they talk about, if we don't get into this one-way road, all our efforts will be in vain. So I discovered there's only one way to live effective life, to live a fulfilled life and be successful in every area that you do. You know, if you compare this one way to a one-way road, you all know that when you're on a one-way road, you can make a U-turn. It's impossible. The opposite direction is what? It's also impossible. There is only one way that you can move forward. So when we are on this one-way road, failure becomes impossible. Disappointment becomes impossible. Rejection becomes impossible. Success becomes guaranteed. Success becomes automatic. Now let me ask, how many of you would love your success to be automatic and guaranteed?
Oh, yeah.
All of us. Now another question, how many of you would like to know this one-way road to success? Can you please show by hand? Those of you who would like to know this one-way road to success? You see,
I'm waiting for that one way.
one-way road, you see. Everybody, like I started, we all want to know, you know, this one way so that you wouldn't suffer, you wouldn't go through all the trauma and the stress. You know, but some of us, we think that we will be successful because we live in America. Well, the wealth in America is not guaranteed. You know, we have to discover this one-way road. So I discovered that the only way, the one-way road to be successful in whatever that you do is simply obedient to principle. Obedient to principle is the only one way that you can live effective and a fulfilled life. Now, I know you are wondering, asking yourself, why is obedient to principle the only way to success? Why is obedient to principle the only way to live a fulfilled life? Well, I also discovered that everything in life, both artificial or natural, physical or spiritual, were all created and functioned by a principle. Everything in life was created and functioned by a principle, regarding that spiritual or physical, either seen or unseen. They are all functioned by a principle. You know, let's look at our vehicles for example. The vehicle